I've played a lot of games during my time, and you've read the title. Let's just get right into it. Starting with Epic 7, a game that comes close home to me. Let's begin with Ross, Heir of the Covenant. What is his design looking like? Pretty normal. What about his personality? Oh, did I tell you he has a personality? My bad, I should have censored that, because he has no personality. Ross, Heir of the Covenant, when he starts, he is so bland. He is just so clueless about what's happening around him. I feel like for a character that is supposed to be the embodiment of the goddess, he embodies nothing. And to a degree, I understand. He is kind of made to be bland. He has no emotions, and rather, if he does wield his emotions, he is going to use it so that he only defeats the archdemon. At the end of the day, he just wants to preserve the world of Orbis, and that's it. And frankly speaking, him, Mercedes, Archie, I don't like him very much, but I do admit that as the story progresses, Ross, Heir of the Covenant, does start showing more emotion. He does start to show regret that he did not show emotion. In fact, as he's processing his own emotions, he starts to become a more charismatic, more caring, more understanding person. Perhaps redeeming Iseria, and maybe Iseria would have went the same path Vildred went, because Vildred's whole notion of betrayal is because Ross lied, and when you think of it from a statistical standpoint, it makes sense why Ross doesn't tell Vildred, yo, the world is resetting, because if you take out emotions, it's the correct thing to do. But that correct thing is not exactly the most morally correct thing, right? So statistically or factually speaking, what Ross did is correct, but emotionally, it's not the right thing. How can you deceive Vildred for so long? How can you deceive your people who believed there is a genuine end to all this? And yeah, Ross, Heir of the Covenant, during episode 1 actually develops, but I don't like him very much. Come episode 2, he starts to actually, become decent in conversations. We start to shift the narrative around Pavel, Leluka, Cerise, other characters among the cast, and frankly speaking, every time Ross, Heir of the Covenant, is on screen, I kinda smiled. I'd be like, yep, we're focusing on main story now, buddy. Which, he still is bland, but don't get me wrong, Ross, in episode 2, his bland characteristics are very good because he actually makes the conversations flow. Him being silent allows Lilibet to just keep going and insult him in the process, calling him bland. At least the game is self-aware that Ross, Heir of the Covenant, is bland. Then come the ending of episode 2. He changes to Adventure Ross. He actually becomes one-to-one with his own emotions, and his design changes. I would argue his design is even more generic. I would argue that the only reason why we prefer Adventure Ross over normal Ross is because normal Ross has a really generic, boring pose, whereas Adventure Ross, we all love glowing, burning swords. So I think from a design standpoint, A-Raw's really good. But the thing is, entering episode 3, I really like Adventure Ross. I start to see his character traits flourish. And we shift the narrative to other characters. A-Ross takes no screen time at all. In fact, he's sleeping for half of the episode. And then come episode 4, we have Light Aiden as our main character. Okay. So you're saying we made a good character and then we decided to get rid of him. Screw you, Epic 7. For once, I thought, hey, Ross is good, but no. As soon as he's a good character, we just ditch him. Thank you, Smilegate. This is so in character of you. And next up is a game called Fate Grand Order, and I really regret the amount of time I put into this game. No autoplay. Rarely do they make any good quality of life changes, and when they do make a really good quality of life change, it's claim all and a back button. Holy shit, Fate Grand Order, you're a bad game. Anyways, leaving the gameplay aside and the content drought and the story being people's main point about getting into this game, they'd be like, hey, Fate Grand Order has a really good story, except it takes 5 or 6 singularities before the story starts to pick up, and then you enter part 1.5, the most embarrassing part. If you honestly enjoyed Shimosa or whatever was there, I lost all respect for you. And then come Lost Belt, which Lost Belt 1 was peak because of a furry called Paxi, and the rest, it just takes forever to get any updates that the hype kills itself. Anyways, Fujimaru Ritsuka, what are my main problems with him? Is it the bland design? Ironically, no. You can keep changing his design, but you're just going to use the main 2 or 3 in the long run of the game. You're just going to use the combat mode, and you're just going to use the normal one, and maybe if you are like using a very specific servant, maybe you'll change his outfit to something else. So design-wise, I'm not going to say anything. I reserve my opinion. But what about his character? What character? He's designed to be a self-insert, and frankly speaking, I fail to see where the self-insert part comes in. He does nothing. It's basically Pokemon, where option A, option B give the same exact dialogue, and rarely, and I mean really, really rarely, do your options actually matter. The one time it does matter to some degree, I guess, is in Babylonia, where it's like, hey, do you want to dance with me? If you dance, you have a hard battle. If you don't dance, it's an easy battle. And really? That's it? That's all we're getting. So yeah, Fujimaru Ritsuka, for some reason, everyone just loves him. They automatically lock eyes with him and they'll be like, I see the warmth in your eye, master. I will die for you. It's just, if a character starts disagreeing with the master, boom, everyone hates that servant. But if this servant is like, please, master, penetrate me with your 8-inch rod, people just love him. I don't know, man. You can't defend the Fate Grand Order fandom. You really cannot. Anyways, moving on. Next up is a game I actually really like and have nothing negative to say. Arknights. I really love tower defense games. I used to spam tower defense games when I was younger, and yeah, to see it born in this day and age, I really like it. I love Amiya. I really love how Hypergriff goes all out on the soundtrack. And yeah, again, I have nothing bad to say about the game. The only bad thing about the game, I guess, is that it's a tower defense game. You expect people to think on a gacha JRPG. Really, the only reason Arknights doesn't have as much players as it should have is because, yeah, the gameplay can get complicated. Which, that's not a bad thing. This is what I want of a tower defense game. You can't just brute force it. And that's the thing. People just want to brute force everything. You're expecting way too much out of gacha JRPG players. And I'm allowed to say that, because I'm one of you people. Anyways, let's talk about Doctor, Okairi Doctor, that guy, yes? Doctor, I can't say anything bad about him, okay? Design-wise, he's normal. If I had to really nitpick, I guess it's that it's the same story as every other gacha JRPG. It's that the dialogue options appear at random times, or they really just appear rarely, and when they do appear, rarely do they matter, because they always lead to the same exact ending. But I guess the one thing I do like is, at least when they give you 3 or 2 options, at least you get different replies for each unique choice you pick. So at least I can respect them for adding a few extra lines in case the player wants to say something out of character or something in character. Do you want Doctor to be this brooding, thinking scientific guy? You can be that guy. Do you want Doctor to be this clueless guy? You can be that. Do you want him to be the funny guy? You can do that. And that's the thing. Again, dialogue-wise, Doctor really good. Personality-wise, I like Doctor. There's nothing wrong about Doctor. I guess the closest thing I would nitpick now about Doctor is that pre-amnesia, we're told he's the most merciless guy. We're told that he's really smart and that he will destroy Oripathy, and that, if someone dares stand in his way, they would be eliminated, and a long list of things. And don't get me wrong, Doctor is actually very smart. When he does wake up, Rhodes Islands does, start to spike in power. The other nations notice, Rhodes Island, kind of a serious company. And yeah, the pharmaceutical makes more progress into Oripathy, which is why, a lot of characters aren't dying, even though they have Oripathy. Anyways, point is, Doctor is competent, but again, before the amnesia, we're told he has a wife. I don't know where that came from. Everyone is telling me he has a wife. I've made it like 6 chapters in, not a single mention about his old life. And I guess I did play Breaking the Ice in one other event. They'd say, hey, he used to be very merciless. And it's like, really? After the amnesia, Doctor just becomes a nice person? That's all that changes? And again, it's not like Doctor is like forced in your face. I mean, Amiya is a good character. It's not like Doctor is pretending to be this character that's just imposed on the player. Doctor is Doctor. That's all I can say. Let's move on. Blue Archive. I'm gonna let someone else take over here.
I sent you my cock, and you say nothing? What have I done wrong?
Next up, we have Vertin from Reverse 1999. Trust me, this is not a honeymoon phase. I dislike self-insert characters as much as the next guy, but in comparison to Eros, what makes Vertin better in my opinion? Again, just from a design standpoint, I can't really criticize Ross because they're from different games, but in comparison to Ross, Vertin is more expressionful. Vertin is not the strongest character. Yes, she's the timekeeper, but she's not so OP that she can solo the verse. She actually needs her allies, which is why you have emotional turmoil when she's alone. Ross, if he's alone, he doesn't care. He's an OP main character who can just walk around and do something, or nothing for that matter. In fact, all the characters will get beat up, then Adventure Ross will show up and save the day. Vertin, not so much. The consequences are real, so I don't know. I feel like Vertin is just a realistic character. In fact, I don't have much to say because I'm only 3 chapters into the game, and already this character has shown emotion, has shown character development, has shown a flaw in her system that she wants to change. Very admirable. Nothing bad to say. Moving on. Fire Emblem Heroes, another game that I genuinely regret putting so much time into. What do we have here? A nameless main character. Guess what? He's hooded. You see him in one animation at the start of the game, and then you never see him again. In fact, he shows up again at the 4th book. So 4 years into the story, 4 years into the game, you finally see him as a sprite. And then 4.5 years later after the release of the game, so that means 6 months after you see his design, once again, for the second time in your entire life, he suddenly becomes a playable unit. And then by the time the 5th book is out, you're allowed to design him as you want. Now, most characters don't even interact with the main character. You don't have options to select from. For the first 4 years of the game, we pretend you do not exist. So, I'm not gonna say anything, he's just bad. Next up is Alchemy Stars, and we have the Navigator. I'll just say it straight up, 7.5 out of 10. Let me give you my reasons, okay? I don't care about his design, he looks normal from the world he's supposed to be from. Now, what do I like and dislike about this unit? What I like is that he has an actual backstory. I like that he moves the main story to figure out answers as to why he's here. I like how he finds a purpose. I like how he develops as a character and develops the people around him. Now, what do I not like? You start the story by using first-person POV. You're like, hey, you wake up, you do this, you wipe the dust off your face, you run to this area, you see this, it's using you. So it's clearly saying you, the player, are seeing this. So we're treating the main character as a first-person, POV. And then later on in the story, as they start referring to him as Navigator, we slightly shift to third-person POV where, you're not actually a self-insert. And unlike Gentrash, Mtrash, at least your main character isn't a spectator. I understand, the main heroine does the majority of the talk, but at least you don't have a Paimon like Gentrash, just, hey, let me narrate the story for you. I'm actually a stupid character too, so rely on me. No, I really like how the heroine who, talks for you is actually pretty smart, not a stupid idiot. And I do like how the main character, kind of picks off that. They actually have a dynamic going on. But what I don't like is, after you're done with main story, let's just say, as you go out and talk with your characters on the phone, main character kind of becomes a self-insert there. And even then, the personality isn't consistent, With one chat, he's very serious, very perceptive, And then in another chat, he's very normal, casual, and I understand. But then you have a third situation where it's just like, okay, is there a consistent personality, or are we really just, what are we doing here, you know? It's like, I really do want to give more examples, but you'd have to watch my opinion on Alchemy stars. I really genuinely don't like how there is a big separation there. Again, 7.5 out of 10. The good points of the main characters are really good here, but then the bad points, it's just like nitpicky at this point. I don't know what to say. Let's move on. Next up is Granblue Fantasy. I would like to apologize to everyone who has known me. I am sorry for associating with this game. Granblue Fantasy, as a game, I don't know what to say. But the main character, who already from chapter 1, this is the most charismatic, strongest character you'll ever know. I know he doesn't claim to be the strongest character, but right off the bat, every character just automatically loves you. Every character is looking at you like, oh my god, you're strong, you've been given power. It's like, okay, sure. Even though the main character is supposed to have a backstory, you have this little pet called Vern following you, and it's just like, okay, so this dragon is doing all the talking. Why? Okay, you're a self-insert. People talk to you. People actually refer to you. Unlike Fire Emblem Heroes and other self-inserts, at least this character is getting some recognition as the captain of the party. Except guess what? You play as the main character, the strongest character in the game probably, and it's just got me wondering, like, well, what are we doing here? Nothing. Okay, let's move on. I guess he's a really old character from an old game. Can't really blame him for not having good writing. Even his motives are a little iffy to me. It's like, okay, I don't understand, but sure. Let's pretend that the main character is a good character. In fact, I have nothing to say about this character because there's just nothing. There's actually nothing. There's fucking nothing. Anyways, right. Again, just move on. Let's go to the point that I actually want to talk about. Like Fate Grand Order, like many other games, just pushed to an extreme stereotype. The Granblue Fantasy fandom is insane. If a new character releases, okay, there has to be a criteria. If it's a man, it's automatically hated, just saying. If it's a woman, and this woman is like, yo, respect me, hated instantly. If this woman is a married woman and she's not spreading her ass to you, she's hated, okay? Every woman, every rank, every rate up in Granblue Fantasy must be a sexualized woman that actually just begs for your touch. Every character must come and grab your shoulder and, like, you know, press her chest or something. Because I swear, if you do not do that, there is an incredible number of hate. Again, married character could come to you and somehow this fandom will think, hey, the main character has been anti-art. Bro, what? What do you mean the main character has been cucked? What do you mean this woman that is already married is like, yo, master, I'm not even master, yo, main character, respect my boundaries, boom. It's so weird, which again, it's my fault for checking Twitter, it's my fault for, you know, snooping around Western media, until I realize, even on the Japanese side of things, if this character does not lean into your touch instantly, it is hated automatically. And I understand, it's a small minority, except the developers are well aware of this and they keep feeding into the fantasy. I think I understand why it's named Granblue Fantasy. I'm sorry for talking about it. Bye.